Guys, and welcome back to another stream. We are going to be playing some Russian cash PLO today, and we will be explaining our decisions as we go, helping you guys better understand the pool and how to beat online poker in general. So let's jump into the action. Against the small sizing, kind of want to call here. It's a pretty weak hand, obviously. But when you flop the nuts, it's always nice. Probably not many leads. On an ace-high board out of the small blind. I think on the turn, probably going to size up a little bit. Maybe we'll have some two pairs here with ace-x. Beautiful river. We do unblock the straight. So really looking to get called by sets and two pairs. Not too many queen high flush combos that he opens from this early position. So I am actually going to bet a little bit smaller. He gets snapped off by the 10 high flush. So, I mean, probably would call a pot size bet, to be honest. And we get multiple callers on the right with a marginal open, not what we were looking for. And definitely not the flop we were looking for. So four-way, I mean, not against this sizing. I would have bluffed some turns if it checked through, but when you have a short stack here, I mean, even if you have the nut flush blocker, they're never folding a flush. So you can kind of save your money and give it up. And when we check raise hands, sorry, in position, we really want to block like top ends of the value range. Like if I had a king of hearts here, maybe it's a better candidate. I think here we do just want to call with kind of marginal equity and you know, some sort of check down scenarios where we can win. Against a pot size bet on the turn, when we turn the open ender, I think we're going to have to call again. On this dry board on the left, I am actually just going to lead. Pretty bad river on the right. Uh-oh. I mean, not paying attention early on. And we do take it down. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we should have just been jamming the turn. So I don't need to pay attention. Ace 10, 10, 9. Do we want to, like, pot open this or just min raise? 10's not going to play too poorly in a multi-way pot with a nut suit, some nut straight potential. So, you know, getting jammed on when we pot open this hand is really gross, having, you know, single suit, an ace in our hand with a pair. So I think we probably prefer the small open. And without a pair blocker, although most kings and queens in this spot are probably going to raise against the small size. So could actually bet small here. And we do take it down. These are, I mean, I'm opening most kings, to be honest with you, just because people are overfolding, but we have some pretty loose blinds, and those are the worst kings we could have. Pretty much, anyway. and opening much wider in these games out of the small blind than I usually would, given that, you know, examples like that where people have auto fold on, which you should never do in the big blind in these games. You know, once it pulls around to the small blind, you have to defend such a large range that a lot of the things that you click auto folds are probably going to be calls against the small blind RFI. Tight plays to my left, and someone who I have tagged as recreational in the big blind. Not sure if that is correct or not. Rohit, what is up, my friend? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the chat. How goes it? Are you playing any poker at the moment? Or are you just kind of chilling and watching? What's going on? So tempting. It's so tempting. Do pretty well if he just flats. Gonna let it go. Gonna let it go. As I said, one of my tips for these games is be aggressive before there's aggression, but once you kind of face aggression, especially pre-flop, you really have to tighten up your ranges. You know, people are just gonna have the nut hands too often. And we are pretty deep here. I don't love it with the rainbow, but I think we're still gonna raise this one up just because this hand's gonna play pretty poorly in a high SPR spot out of position post flop. And on the left, we flop a gut shot. Not looking great on the left. I think we hold. There's some pretty... Oh, the 7 on the river. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. On the right, we're gonna peel with the backdoor flush draw and nut gut shot. And the pair, obviously. Not a great turn, kind of ultimate blank. We'll see a lot of pot size bets here, and especially without a heart. You know, he's going to have more bluffs. And the problem here is we just really don't block anything. Is there a world where 8-8 wins? Potentially. But I don't think very often. I don't think he checks back a hand worse than 8-8 very often. Pot size bet. Pot size bet, he says. Now I'm tempted. No, I'm not. I have no heart. We're just folding. In position here, deep. Actually going to use a bit of a larger sizing since we are 200 big blinds deep. Some strats do complete on the turn. And so I'm going to use another large sizing, especially with our club in my hand. And we still have Z nuts on the river. And we do block a pair, which means, you know, it's kind of more possible that he has straights here. So do we want to bet a small size ever? I think I'm going to go half pot here, so that he can potentially call with some sets with blockers, which I feel is likely what he has at this point. Oh, okay, we just run into the nuts. Honestly, kind of a good board to lead with a king blocker out of the small blind. Block a ton of the continuing ranges, or at least the raising ranges. I mean, I'm not really considering trying to barrel a 6 off there, but you know, definitely can. You could argue though that we have enough kind of showdown value with our king to just check. And I think if we have ace king there, I think it's a no-brainer check. But we don't need any protection. On the left, I'm very inclined to attack check back ace high boards. We do turn, we do have the double gar. And we do take it down. He'll just generally tend to oversee bet ace high boards in position. So check back ranges are often relatively weak. And so, you know, any sort of turned equity, blockers, things like that, I'm going to be more aggressive. Pretty loose. It's probably okay. And again, some of the worst kings. Bottom set. Probably not going to have many leads in general on this board. This guy's a very tight range. He'll definitely have some sets of beers and straights as well, so we want to be very careful in this situation. Pretty good turn. I mean, he'll still have some sets that check back, so I don't think it really makes sense leading here. With marginal mid hand, marginal draw. But we can definitely check call. And on the queen turn, like, does he bet a hand like 6-7? Problem is he'll have like queen 9 a good amount of the time, like queen 9-10 that he bets after 2 checks. So do we want to block? I actually just check fold this to a large size. Does bet the lower straight on the turn without a diamond. I think it's a little light. I think he probably wants to check that back. But if we know that he's betting hands like that, then we can go ahead and block river, because we'll likely get a call there most of the time. And we do get 3-bet. We're deep with this guy behind. He'll have some flying aces, but his range is wide. I think we probably want to play this. Unfortunate flop. On the right, multi-way. Don't know that it's good enough to go for the checkers. We get the pot size bet here, and we are just out. On the deuce with a heart and an 8. Do we ever want to bluff into the field here? I don't hate it. We're usually going to use a large sizing when it's a blank and it's checked through. We do get it through. Okay, so never really checks back ace 9. There's not much deuce 3 in his range. We very often have the best hand. I'm gonna lead for a smaller sizing here. The problem is we have to just check so many rivers. What happened over here? Oh, we lose aces on aces this time. And check call, I guess. So fair enough. We bink one with the aces, we lose one. This is definitely not an open. Do we want to play with this guy in the big blind with a bunch of tight people behind? I think I'm gonna say yes, but this is super loose. Don't do this stuff generally. And giving up, obviously, when we get called out of position on this board. Even to the small sizing. Great board on the left. It is a turn where I'm going to have a ton of c-bets, especially for a small size. Did we 3-bet? Oh no, he limped to me ISO. That's why I was like, the SPRs are kind of weird here. I'm actually going to check. We block a lot of the draws. And he will have like queen 8. I mean, we block all of the bluffs. Actually gonna fold. I don't see that line bluff too often. Against this sort of player that's playing so wide, you can make an argument for it, but even those types of players kind of think, well, this guy has all of the aces, and I will check back some aces on the turn, or that's how they might play aces as well. So it's pretty strong when he just like leads the river there. I think a good candidate to bet fold on the left. Probably could have used a half pot sizing. And is this a turn I want to barrel or not? Obviously hits my range very well. This guy can have hands like kings with clubs. I think we're just gonna check. And on the left, going to be betting this board against the big blind range with a gut shot and a spade blocker. And I think probably, I mean, we lose a lot, but there's enough draws out there that we can win, like 5-6 type hands. But yeah, I mean, we were getting shoved on the turn. Pretty likely in that spot here against the min raise. I'm definitely going to play on the button. Flop top 2, and I think with a gut shot and backdoor flush draw, it's too strong to not bet. Anders, what is up, my friend? Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the stream. Are you grinding today, or I guess it's a little earlier in the US time zones? Are you waiting till you play today, or taking the weekend off? I think check. Calling against this size, definitely. And I mean, does he bet much two pair on the flop in position? Maybe. Snapped off. Yeah, so I mean, obviously kind of have to adjust our bluffing range on the river there when we see that our opponent's going to stab hands like that on the flop. I mean, it's gonna go four-way, so we get pretty good price here. I mean, this is not what we wanted with this hand. Obviously, this is not an open under the gun. But I think we have, even though it's single suited, the right sort of combination against the ranges that are in play here. And can't connect on the flop, unfortunately. And pot size bet on the left. Pretty bad turn. I mean, so he'll have just turned ASX a good amount of the time, just bluffing on the flop. I don't think we get him to fold ASX though, to be honest. So, I'm gonna check down here. Pot size bet. So with the line really repping a hand like ace 3. And we don't really have very many blockers against that, so we're just going to fold. So like a hand like this, a lot of people sometimes auto fold, but you're always going to play this against the small blind. And I even would have opened this hand with a 19 VPIP player in the big blind, as bad as that hand is. And obviously calling 3-bet here. Don't love it. This guy behind. Pretty dusty flops so far in our 3-bet pots. Five BB bet on the river. I think we're just out. We'll call some ace-x there, I guess. 2 kind of coordinate on the left, and you know, some. I mean, we can't really call many turn probes, so we could argue to bet. And on this turn against the big blind range, I am actually going to stab with an ace in my hand. In raise. Hopefully we can keep the pot small on the right. Limp, limp, everyone. Limp, limp. Not our flop, unfortunately, though. Don't really like check calling this hand. We block some of his stronger hands. With the tens, obviously not having a pair blocker isn't ideal. Yes, this is kind of good for our range, but there's not many draws on the flop outside of the ones we block heavily, and you know, he's going to show up here with, even with Jack X a lot of the time, is not going to fold to a bet. So we don't get better to fold on this turn. And yeah. It's kind of weird what combos he might do this with though. There's a half pot sizing. Like, given that I have all of the aces and overpairs that would maybe want to use this sort of sizing, it's probably a call, to be honest, and play rivers. But I'm gonna play a little tight. Nice, Anders. Glad to hear you're grinding. Hope it has been going well today, or will go well today. Flopping the nuts on the right. All in. Looking for the runner. Check mark on the turn. Ship it. And we get ace king king again on the left. This guy's pretty wide. Still, I want to call this. Yes. And I guess pot stack off on this. I mean, we don't have a backdoor flush draw. We could check. I'm not gonna have too many raises on this board. Oh, shit. Probably just want to pot that flop, to be honest. Do we want to raise here though? And with the ace of clubs and the 9, just make it like pretty unlikely that he's bluffing, and we don't really have good equity. I think we're just gonna fold. Yeah, I mean, all of the hands that he was banging for value that we were ahead of kind of get there in terms of ace queen, ace jack. So I think we just check back here. Unfortunate run out. Pretty lucky for kind of strange line. Backdoor straight draw and spades against small sizing. Definitely going to continue. We block pairs. It's not going to have many straights. Is he going to bluff much? I think I actually prefer blocking. And against a pot size bet on the left, I mean, I guess we want to call some here. If I had more time bank, I might have actually folded that turn. But we were actually doing pretty fantastic against this player. Ace King nut suit short though. I don't like the 6. Maybe we want to continue that. Lucky Maggie, what is up? Is your coaching the same as Jen Andes? It is not. I don't do anything with PLO Mastermind or Jen Andes. I'm affiliated with his PLO Mastermind site. So when you guys use my link, which is in my bio and in this video as well, to sign up to that site, you know, I do get a commission, and you know, the flip side of that is you guys get like goodies from me, so like some access to some of our premium content. But no, it's not the same as Jen Andes. Check back with three spades, I guess. Pretty juicy turn. Do we ever want to raise? We're pretty deep, so he's not gonna be able to jam that easily. Kind of like it. Probably a smaller raise would be better, to be honest. I mean, how many straights does this guy have? He does have some decent overpairs. Small sizing, I think we have to peel. Pretty good turn. I don't know what bluffs he has here though. Like, I'm gonna connect with this board a lot better in terms of like my ace-ace combos, and like, is he trying to value town me with kings right now? I mean, I kind of just want to fold to a third. Wrapping like a pretty narrow value range. With no additional equity, probably a fold. And here, deep in position, we're gonna call. Repair on the flop. Small blind's gonna have a lot of ace king, pot size bet. Yikes. I wish I had a backdoor flush draw or something. I think we're just gonna fold. I mean, it's like, I'm not as worried about him. And like, if we were heads up, I mean, I guess we're pretty deep there. If we were heads up, I'm more likely to call. I mean, just this guy behind though just has a lot of ace king type hands, and like, if we flat and then get jammed on, it's really gross. You know, he's often gonna have like pair open ender, or like pair gut shot, nut flush draw, like hands like that when he uses the pot sizing. Rarely do I ever see the nuts there. Yeah, unfortunate. If you do want to find out more about our coaching, you can head over to PLOpokercoaching.com. And you can do a free 30-minute session where we'll take a look at your game, and then, you know, discuss a plan forward that would help you improve based on your kind of goals. And also, you know, For a little detailed hand review in there as well to give you a sample of how the sessions could go. We also have some premium content over there, some new premium content out, so go check that out. The link is pinned here in the chat. Definitely wasn't looking to get raised, but I think this is often when we have the queen, and the reason why I bet is that this is often more draws. I would have thought that potentially would be calling those more in position, but it could be a very strong draw. We are obviously going to call. Terrible turn. We lose to everything now, so we'll just be check folding. I mean, it's such a small size. What do we have? We literally have nothing. We have 10 high, not even a gut shot. Sometimes you just miss a bunch of flops, you know? Pretty nice turn on the right, blocking all of the pairs and diamonds. I think I'm actually going to check raise this hand. If I had a flush draw or a pair or set or something as well, I'd be more inclined to lead, as I'd have more playability on rivers. And question is, what hands is he going to bet that he checks back? He'd have to have a hand specifically like Queen Jack. So I'm just going to block bet. And on the left, blocking a pair, no straight blockers, and a weak diamond. Gonna check back. I usually, and I tell people here that I'm gonna raise range against a small size. This is one of the scenarios where I probably won't. Because in his mind, he's not thinking about GTO that will have some checkbacks with the nut flush on the turn. He's basically just like, I can never have the nut flush. I don't think we have enough showdown value in terms of like additional equity, and we can get hands like 10-6 to fold. We do block some of the turn draws, so I don't think it's a good option to kind of check back there and hope that you're gonna see or win at showdown with like ace jack. And these kings, you'll see me 3-bet some weak kings just based on players' kind of 4-bet ranges, but these are some very nice kings that I will be raise calling. We don't want to get 4-bet, obviously. Pretty bad board for my range. Same on the right. I'm just gonna check here. I mean, we have no diamonds. And on this turn, I guess, check call. I mean, do we ever want to bluff? We want a 5 more than the 9s. Oops. And make sure you tune in tomorrow, guys, on Sunday. We are going to be live streaming some high stakes MTTs that I will be playing. So there's a couple of events on Coin and GG that look pretty good. Yes, we have 10-10 here, but you know, there's plenty of like high spades out there that we do unblock. On the left, the best hand a lot of the time. I think with the playability, it's a decent one to check back. And not many turns that we have to fold. Question is, do we ever want to bet here? We will have some like gut shot and flush draw type hands, pair and flush draw, pair and gut shots that we're doing pretty well against. And so I think we can bet call. And we ever get called by Queen X? I think Queen 10 after we check back is probably raising the turn. So I'm actually going to block bet here. And we are running pretty cold. Pretty cold. So pretty good spot, pretty good value spot on the turn. Yeah, basically drawing to the gut shot. Ace, queen, queen, deuce. I think with an ace, we want to bet this at a decent frequency. Yikes. That is a pretty good turn. And with blocking the ace, I'm actually gonna go for a large sizing here. Just it's kind of likely he has a 6 at this point. And in terms of his combos that call when we block queens, 5's actually a great card because he'll blow up a lot here. And he might not be able to get away from it. Unless we get jammed on, then he has quads. On this turn, we do block the straight. And have the ace of diamonds. It's a bit short here, though. Because he's going to be able to stack off with pretty low equity hands. I think we just fold. Yes, it's nice to have a diamond to call. Don't have a pair. We're just gonna let it go. And on the left, we do block Jack X a good amount, but not really much we need protection from. You'll have some kings that we just end up value cutting ourselves against. Against half pot, we're never folding, but I mean, even though the population's not going to really find many half pot size bluffs on this turn, you could argue just to fold because you don't have any equity against value. It's a great river for us to bluff. You'll have some kings, but some of those will be kings with the king of clubs, which probably makes more sense for him to bet on the turn. We never win. I'm gonna check back though. Oh, sometimes you got that little sneaky feeling. That little sneaky feeling, because on that turn, to have a hand like kings, which is what we would be trying to get to fold, he's usually gonna have a flush draw with it. He's not gonna fold the nut flush draw. Pretty good flop. Not too many leads on this board. Do we ever want to 4-bet here? Turn the boat. Just don't know that there's that many continues. And flopping 3 pair here. We're gonna have a lot of leads on, well, actually I guess not, in EP. How much 4-7 do we have? I mean, this board isn't actually great for us. I'm actually gonna check. Blocking an ace is not fantastic. Not that many great turns, and we don't have a straight blocker. Just gonna call in this spot. Beautiful turn. And probably will have some leads here, although we do have an ace. I guess we can lead small and get called by straights. He's not really going to bluff this turn. You know, he'll probably still call. He'll call aces. Like if he bet aces, he probably has a hand like aces in the gut shot. So we get the call there, and I don't think he's going to bluff aces. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's going to value bet aces on the turn. It's a pretty bad queens, and this guy's not that tight in the big blind. Probably can raise any 4 cards against this. And nice hand to 3-bet on the right. And range bet on this board. When we get called with a king, queen, and jack in our hand, it's not ideal. He just has so little deuce X. I mean, he could have a hand like pocket sixes. Even less so now, pocket sixes, but he could definitely have a 6. But is he going to call a hand like 6, 7, 8 on this board? Don't know what we beat. I'm going to check. This hand's waiting me out. Yeah. I think probably against most people's free betting range, you should probably, this was a bit wide, you should probably just fold flop. I mean, solver's never going to fold that hand on the flop, obviously, but I just have a disproportionate amount of aces and kings in my range compared to the solver range. I do want to attack this deuce turn, to be honest, because he won't fold an overpair, but he'll fold it on the river when I pot it. But yeah, but I just really have no equity, and making 0% equity bluffs is like never a good idea. Like, this guy has aces or kings, and he wouldn't have folded the turn. And just check folding on the left. So like, these are kind of the kings that I'm talking about in Russian cash that I'm gonna 3-bet and 3-bet fold, just because 4-bet ranges are basically exclusively aces. So we get value when we get called, and we're not really burning much equity when we fold. If they're somewhat decently connected, if it's like king, king, jack 10 single suit, I mean, against the button, I mean, I wouldn't. I would still 3-bet, but against EP, you know, those have some more playability that you can actually use, and you don't want to burn the equity of them by folding to a 4-bet. Tempting if we get res there to actually call. With king, king, jack, we obviously reduce the likelihood of him having a queen in his range. Here on the right, with an ace, so blocking the stronger kings and just the ability to fold out 10s, jacks, queens, which we unblock. Let's see. Run into, well, I mean, king x plus, I mean, those are his bluffs, and like, so when he's bluffing with the best hand, so you know, that's why we take a stab, make our decisions very easy, and play a super polar on the flop. I'm gonna 3-bet here. Some of these you could argue to just flat. I think I want to check this back. Without a club in my hand. Not a good turn for us. With the gut shot backdoor flush draw, I think I'm actually going to lead this top two here. Big bet on the turn. And I do have to check a lot of my range on this top pairing card. And against this bet size, I think we're just out. And so often when you check turns, you don't want to have much of a large sizing on rivers. But given that I check so many strong hands on 9-8, it's going to allow me to use that pot sizing a lot more on the river because I have way more nuts in my range, or I should do if I'm playing a balanced strategy. It's probably a little bit too wide. I feel like that's what I say every fifth hand or so. And multi-way. I don't think we can fold. The problem is, like, he has a relatively tight range, and when we block a jack, like, a lot of his leads are kind of, you know, going to be jacks. I mean, leads that aren't flush draws. We do block a good amount of showdown value. Blocking the pairs isn't also great. I think against this sizing we can never fold a flush though. He does have jacks. Oh, should have just shoved this pre-flop. Drawing dead basically. Yeah, I should have just shoved it pre-flop. Wasn't paying attention there to stack sizes. And I want to look back at this hand. Again. I always forget we can just sit out as well. I mean, yeah, I don't like that at all. Talk about it in a sec. I mean, he blocks lower sets. He unblocks straights, which I'm also going to call with when I have a spade blocker. And a ton of straights get there on the river. So I really don't know what this is. I would definitely check. And I guess probably check fold. And I think he used half pot, right? Over half pot. I mean, if you ever were gonna bet a hand like this, I mean, you want to bet like a third of the pot max, a quarter of the pot, so that you can actually put me to some tough decisions with like somehow like queen jack or queen 10, 5-5 for the spade and a straight blocker. So something to note on that particular player if we were spending a lot of time in this pool. Not really deep over here anymore, unfortunately. Just gonna let this go. Almost a min 3-bet. Snap check on the flop. We do block some of the straight draws, so we need less protection. Don't really want to get check shift on with this hand, so I think check back's fine, especially without a club. 10 3-bet now. Now I would argue that we do probably want to bet. He'll have some overpair gut shots, turn some straight draws maybe. We're pretty sure he can still have the nut flush draw as well and check 2 streets. Raise call from the button. Block some of the hands. I think I actually do want to bet this. I'll have some straights here. Shouldn't have too much, like 3-6. Ace 3. Have like pair and straight draws, but we're not even doing great against that. A small raise, I guess we definitely want to continue. Obviously, just straight checking the nut changing turn. No idea. I mean, we don't turn any additional equity. Again, we don't push that much equity against a hand like 6, 7, 8 that we block anyway. But even a hand like 5, 7, 8. I think it's definitely fine to fold to the check raise there on the flop, but it is a very small sizing with 2 backdoor flush draws, and he can definitely raise some sets there, so we have some additional outs. How wide is this guy opening? I don't actually like calling a hand like this. Probably a call with a nutsuit. It might just be a fold. And size, no heart, player behind. I think we probably just want to get rid of it. This guy's short too. He can kind of jam stuff if he picked up equity on the turn. And actually tempted to raise this pot size bet. Oof. Yeah, I guess I committed in my head to raising the turn and should have not been stubborn when he used the pot size bet. He's gonna bet a good amount of overpairs that we kind of unblock there, and you know, especially if he has hearts. So we have a pretty good hand to check raise to get a call and then bluff some rivers with a couple nut outs as well. But when people bet pot, I mean, it's just it's very rare that they fold, especially on like those lockdown boards. So don't think that was a good decision in the end. Gonna see bet here. Maybe it's too much equity to bet fold. Yeah, I regret the decision actually. Yeah, I definitely think a check call is better in that scenario. Still tilted from the other table. Is this good enough to defend? It's probably pretty close against the button. On the left, really not many good turns, but we do block a ton of the continuing range. Not really a great card for my hand. And with our specific blockers, I think we're probably going to check back. You just push him closer to having a mid hand. I mean, we do have a great hand to raise. I just don't think that we're gonna get believed that often, and also our opponent definitely has 8-5 in his range here. So I would much rather have an 8 here when we're making this bluff. I'm not going to fold much in position, but getting squeezed here with a player behind with a non-nut suit. Actually, just going to let it go. A non-nut suit and a pair in your hand with an ace. I mean, we're just often so crushed. We're gonna have a good amount of leads on this board, and yes, we do have top, but the playability of this on future runouts is pretty awful. I don't think the best bet is to bet very often on this board in a limped spot. Very often have the best hand here. We do need some protection, and it's a pretty easy bet fold, I guess. And playing that spot in position be pretty thin. I don't even, do we ever fold out a queen? We can sometimes win. I don't think we fold that hand out. One pair double gutter. This guy's short, actually. Probably could have just folded. Shows me the nuts to be friendly. So like these types of kings, probably never gonna be 3-betting these. Probably just gonna fold them, to be honest. Maybe not with the suit. But this sort of hand will play pretty well in a low SPR spot. You just don't ever get to that low SPR spot usually as much, because people are going to have more 4-bet bluffs. And with the king of diamonds, I guess we check back here. Unfortunate that we now have like a really good bluff catcher. And this is a run out that people are going to play really aggressively. Now it kind of just becomes like down to player reads. I mean, it's such a good river to bluff. Given that the ace of diamonds rolls off, but I think we just river too much showdown value to bluff it. I think we're gonna check. And we continue to brick 3-bet pots. Can't really continue against any reasonable size. Definitely not against a pot size bet. And pretty good hand to lead. On the left, we block some of like the pair and straight draws. We block obviously the nuts. And we have, you know, all of the kind of top sets in our range. Block a lot, we block a lot. Having the queen here isn't great because he's gonna just flat hands like queens on the flop since we can't slab aces. So I'm just gonna give up. Without a queen blocker, if we had like, you know, I think we had a club there, but if we have a club and we have the back king, like then it becomes a pretty good double barrel because we unblock more of the sets and 2 pairs that he could have had on the flop that he's gonna have to fold on the turn. But don't love it in that spot. On the right, I'll probably actually bet this in position. And we're just gonna call now. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, his hand's gonna be skewed towards straight draws a good amount. Pretty good turn or super cool a turn because the made hands that he's gonna bet on the flop are obviously gonna be 8s and 8-5. So pretty not so great boards. Given that he probably has like 8-5 or like 6-7-9, I think checking back is the right play here and hope that he hits. Because then when we bet, we just get either raised or we play against better made hands and we fold out all draws. I don't think we ever get called here, but that's why I'm going to bet so small exploitatively. Maybe he turns a hand like 8-6-7 into a bluff. I mean, I'm definitely going to call. Calling check raises, I know I said is a terrible idea, but when 10 goes check, check, and people have the nuts, they tend to just bet. Don't love it with this guy here, actually. Pretty good flop. We do unblock kind of more the middling hands when we have ace, queen, queen. We'll have a good amount of pots on this board. Get the worst turn. I mean, we don't have diamonds. I mean, we're not folding to a pot-sized bet, so really unfortunate. Drawing dead is always nice to see, though, when they flip them over. Small sizing on the left. I mean, just Rick City, easy fold. And some bomb pairs you're going to want to turn into a bluff, but you're going to want to have more hands like 10-6, like with a queen maybe. Not really blocking as much with the 8 as a straight draw blocker. I mean, we're running pretty hot in the limp pots. Just need to get this going in the 3-bet pots here. Not really going to have a leading range on this board. And you can definitely run into some weak jacks here for sure. Pretty good river. I mean, kind of have to call now. The question is, do we think he bluffs the turn with Jack X and then calls here versus like half pot? Or does he continue bluffing with a hand like Queen Jack 10? I think we probably should have blocked bet. Wouldn't have mattered either way. But usually in those spots, if I'm going to have to pick one where I think they'll call lighter or bluff wider, yeah, I'm basically always, or should always be thinking that they're going to call lighter. And didn't follow my own advice there. Obviously, he's not going to call anyway, but I think over the long term, you make more money doing that. Sorry, I'm like moving around. I'm like stood up, streaming, and it's on hardwood floors, so my feet are actually kind of hurting a bit. So I'm trying to keep moving. Getting a little stiff. Yeah, one of our better candidates to bluff, I guess. We block a lot of the 2 pairs and set continues. The wrap continues, and obviously the second nut blocker. Kind of makes our hand not as good of a bluff on turns. And we do still have some equity against a hand like ace 10. So I think we're going to check back, maybe bluff some rivers. Pretty good river to bluff. But we actually might get called by ace 10. Snapped off. See, yeah, I had the 10 as well. Fair enough, but that would be a note as to how he snap called. Because what he didn't understand is like the actual pair. Oh, he called with a boat actually. He snapped us with a boat, right? Yeah, I had a boat. Yeah, never mind what I was about to say. I thought he called with a flush and pair blockers. Just the running boat. Tempted when there's a small stack behind to get squeezed, but this guy doesn't look aggressive enough. And these S's are too strong when we just flat and don't get any action. I think raising in position here is usually, or bluff raising in position is usually always going to include an ace. We have good kind of future blockers and backdoor equity. I'm gonna get barreled pretty hard on this turn. Just check. I think we're gonna check back here. And then probably bluff this river. Who did we just bluff? Not this guy. This guy that's one. That's pretty small. This guy that's pot with an SPR of 5. I don't think there's value in calling. We make too many mistakes on turns, so we're just gonna ship it. We're never going to be crushing. It's the best turn we can hope for, I guess. Yeah, I mean, he's ahead of us on the flop. Nice. 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 Running hot today, guys. Running hot. Like those kind of spots that you're like, man, I'm running so bad, you know, it's a flip. Like, you were crushed on the flop. Like, nobody made. I mean, I don't know why he just flat called and didn't just jam the flop, unless he's like slow playing with that hand. So you can maybe look at that being a mistake. Like, those types of hands just play themselves. A very small bet here. We have to call with 2 backdoor flush draws, backdoor wrap. Unfortunately, it's a 5 of clubs. Had it been a spade or heart, I would have looked to bet. Guess we could bet very small here. Like, I think his flop bet is pretty bluffy. And probably, oh, we're pretty deep here. Not having a club. Damn, dude. Pretty rough river. And I'm gonna check back on the left. Given that weather is deep. Just trying to get aces to fold at this point. What is he tanking with? I feel like I just got slow rolled. I mean, we lose a bunch to King X, but I mean, I don't think we have a good bluffing candidate. Yeah. Wait, what? Free chicken gin enders can't win? What do you mean? Pretty sure he made close to $1 million over the last year from poker alone. I would put that in the category of winning. No straight blocker, but parent got shot backed off flush draw. We check calling the flop. Yeah, interested as to what that comment is. But it's a good turn card for us. Don't think we get jammed on much. He never checks back a straight, obviously. Basically never. Oof. Blocking diamonds and an 8. This is not a great candidate to follow through. Nick snapped by Ace King a lot. Just trying to rep a hand like aces, ace 7. I don't think we have a fold out Ace King there. But he can have some draws. But I mean, when you block that many, it's not always the best idea to bluff. But you also have to weigh it against your showdown value. And not very many turns I love on the right. Do have a 9 of diamonds, which is a good blocker against raising ranges. So I'm gonna bet fold. And then probably check raise on the left with straight draw blockers. Backed on up flush draw, and people generally oversee betting on ace high boards. Terrible turn. He's never folding ace king on the flop. Our 2 pairs get counterfeited pretty hard. He will have ace ace that just calls here sometimes, even when we have the blocker, because the board is so dry. Yeah, just gonna give up. And standard call on the left. This guy seems to have been relatively active. But obviously not this time. Shouldn't have too many straights. I mean, you can have like kings type hands which are gonna call. And not the best river. Those are the hands that we're targeting. Kings with diamonds. 10 straight draws. Goes for the pot size. Do we have a good bluff catcher or not with the queen of diamonds? We do. So we look at that hand and the reasons that I ended up kind of calling there. So on the turn, when I raise call out of the small blind, I don't really have much 3-6. I can have queen. So some of his combos, like, he's going to get to raise a bit more on this turn when I bet, and I expect some raises there. And, you know, his like backdoor flush draw type hands often have enough equity to bet on the flop, and that was kind of the reason why I called the pot size bet. If I had a bet and he raised, I would be folding. I don't think this makes for a great block bet though, given that we don't have any straight blockers. And you know, we do block a ton of the showdown value. But you know, as I said, reasonably lucky. A lot of the time here, we'll kind of run into like king with diamonds or aces with diamonds a good amount of the time. Actually, that's probably a good place to end the video. Pretty hungry, gonna go grab some food. But yeah, make sure you tune in tomorrow on Sunday, starting at like, I think like 6 p.m. ish GMT, as we are going to be playing high stakes MTTs on Point Poker and GG. So I think there's a 1K, 500, 350, and then maybe a smaller one, I can't remember. So we'll see what sort of action we can get. Hopefully, you know, 4 tables or something at once will be nice. Hopefully it's a really long stream. Hope I see you guys there.